Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we're going to be talking about the one and only Zbcn. Now, first, we are going to jump into the news because there are some highlights from yesterday. Now, here's a concern a lot of people have, right? When you look at this image, people don't really care too much, but when you look at this one, right? People are saying there's something sketchy going on, and I agree just a little bit, but I do think it's overblown. Now, if you see, right, you can see these chairs, they all have kind of two handles, except for the one in the back right over here, right? So you can clearly see there was some type of Photoshop being done. Now, some people just speculate it was just to remove people from the background. Some people it's just speculation to make things look a little bit nicer. You know, people are calling this coin a scam, which I still think your brain did most likely. Right? I know a lot of people call everything a scam except maybe the coins they hold. Which at the end of the day, you make zero impact in the market. I promise you this, you make zero impact in the market with your comments. Because at the end of the day, investors, people that have money, people that actually know what the hell they're talking about, no technical analysis, no fundamentals, no high probability plays, they're not going to be listening to people like yourself. And that's just the truth, right? But we see, someone said that photo is so Photoshop. And we can see, right? Boom, right? There are some, concerns, right? Someone says, oh no, just notice that this is AI looking under the table, under the area, under the table to the left of the left guy. Look at one of the chairs, right, is missing the armrest of the rest is looking very out of place. Spaces between the tiles on the ground not being aligned properly. Is this a scam, right? So someone's saying something about the tiles or something. Personally, right? Personally, that's not too much of a concern. In their Telegram, they did post photos that they were there, right? That they were there actually, talking yesterday at this conference. And for me, this is one of those things that, I mean, there would have been much more proof other than just some little Photoshop mistakes if this was actually a scam. People call everything a scam nowadays, so I'm not really too concerned. Listen, we will go over the highlights, and of course, then we will go over some basics, and of course, technical analysis and a price prediction. So we can see yesterday, Zebec Network COO Simon spoke at the House of Lords before MPs, blah, 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 whatever, right? He spoke, highlights transparency and whistleblowing, how blockchain firms can build strong compliance and whistleblowing frameworks to protect users and employees, right? We could see some kind of acquisition. Zebec acquired GateNux, a leading compliance and digital identity platform, advancing Zebec's mission to be a fully compliant Web3 infrastructure provider, right? Strengthening compliance team. Some people, right? We talked about them last time. UK listing push. The UK government is working to attract more tech IPOs via listing reforms, tax incentives, and mansion house initiatives to revitalize local markets. Zebec's House of Lords presents underscores our role in uniting blockchain innovation with regulatory responsibility. No, photography was not permitted during this discussion. All right, but we can see, like I said, in Telegram, they did add some stuff. And look, man, not too concerned. Maybe some type of Photoshop error, very, very possible. Like I said, people call it a scam. At the end of the day, I still made my 3x from here. And yes, I did buy a lower afterwards. So I'm also chilling in very, very nice profits as well. We can see in terms of the holders, ladies and gentlemen, we are at 74,680. Right, we can see that we jumped up actually a good amount, and then we've been slowly rising, 351 million market cap, right? So very, very nice. Now, if we jump into the actual price action, ladies and gentlemen, right, we can see that we have been, going downwards for some time, right? We've been going downwards for some time. We've been kind of in this channel for a while too. And then we can see that we actually broke out of it just a couple of days ago with a very, very nice strong push, right? Very, very nice strong push, right? We had a pullback, and of course, we're looking to push higher. Now, we did have some type of rejection off of this huge zone. We know that this zone is a very, very big key zone, because if I go and look at something like the daily, right, this is the biggest daily support / resistance we have. That's relevant, right? Because the other ones are down here, right? You have relevant support, generally over here, and then we did have some kind of resistance, over here, but then eventually we flipped it, right? So this is kind of decently relevant, right? In case we do pull back further down. But this is the most relevant one because we actually need to flip 0.0038 in order to start closing higher and be able to push back to all-time highs. And that is the reality, right? That is simply the reality right now. But we can see, right? We had a big rejection and we are just selling off. As of right now, there is no confirmation that we are going to be crashing down lower just yet, right? Because ladies and gentlemen, we do have decent structure, right? We have practically these bottom lows, double bottoms, right? Then of course, when we pushed up, we broke all of this structure. We had this high, this bottom, high, this bottom, and now this high over here, right? So we are technically kind of just, we go boom, bang, boom, bang, boom, we are kind of staircasing upwards. Now, I will say though, if this daily candle closes really bad, then there's a high chance that we could get some type of, bigger pullback, right? A bigger pullback, possibly even down to, I mean, we have a little bit of a support here, but I would say possibly down even to 0.0026 to then make another possible attempt, right? That's where we would pull back the furthest if we want to create a higher low to make another attempt at this big resistance. And like I said, right now it's a resistance, but if we flip it, it will be a very big support, which will benefit us. The good thing is, ladies and gentlemen, is that something like Bitcoin has been going absolutely nuclear, right? Bitcoin has been going absolutely nuclear. And, for the first time in a very long time, it actually broke out, right? It broke out. In the last relevant range, we were chilling between roughly, let's just say an average of 101 to 102,000 to 109,000, right? We were kind of just in this column and then we broke up. When we look at the bigger picture, we actually have been just ranging, generally speaking, from, we can even say like 108, 109,000 to generally, I mean, I'll count these bottoms here to 93,000, with the exception of course, this bottom over here. But we can see it, right? We can see we've generally just been kind of going sideways, right? We haven't really had too much action above 108,000. And now that we finally broke out, we should see Bitcoin continue to kind of pump and go and go and go, because we broke out of this huge zone. We broke out of this smaller zone, and we have unlimited data to kind of be going up. So we should still have some kind of firepower in us to continue pushing up. So of course, that always helps something like Zbec. Even though Zbec, if we go look at Zbec right now, it did have a huge rally recently. So, it taking a little bit longer to cycle out is not the, most impossible thing in the world, right? Us coming back down here potentially to then make another attempt is not out of the realms of possibilities. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, ultimately that is going to be it. Let me know what you guys think. My final thing for this coin is a price prediction. I do believe Zbec will be doing very, very good. Personally, I'm still looking at roughly a 30x from here in terms of its peak, maybe a little bit more, right? I do think this coin should be hitting at least around 10 cents this cycle, which should be roughly 10 billion market cap. And I really would be surprised if it didn't. Of course, if things come out negative against this coin or something changes, we'll let you know. But as of right now, the data presented with what I see, what the coin wants to accomplish, potential XRP partnership, and etc., then for me, 10 billion is for sure very, very likely. But yeah, ultimately, that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys did enjoy, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.